In this video, we're going to create something that one of my patrons has requested. Sent me a sketch. Looks something like this. As you can see, we've got dimensions. Looks like we have an inside diameter and an outside diameter. There's a hole in the bottom, and the sketch looks fairly easy to follow. So we should end up with something that looks like this. And we're going to model that from scratch. I'll show you how we do that. Show you my process for getting there. It's basically 3 steps. Should get us there fairly quickly. But it may help if you're wondering how you would do it. Maybe you could take a look at it, pause the video, and then compare what I do to how you do it. First things first, I'm going to show you about FreeCAD. I'm on version 0.21.2. Just downloaded that this week, and it is the latest version. You may notice some slowdown in the sketcher. I noticed the resolver seems to be taking a little longer to do its stuff. Not sure why, what changed, but you'll definitely notice it in this video. So without further ado, let's get on and we'll model this part. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start a new part, and then we're going to create a part in there and a body, and then we're going to go into the sketcher, and on the XZ plane, we're going to draw a rough profile. The main part of this model is going to be a revolve. So we're just going to go through it and do a sectional view of what we saw. So we're going to come over here. We're going to create that little recess on the bottom. We're going to stop short of the center so we can create a hole. And then we're going to draw this piece. I'm going to actually put it in as a straight line right now, but I'll replace that with a radius here in a little bit. And then join that, and then I'm going to take a look and see what that revolve looks like, and it should look something like what we're looking for. I'm just going to make that horizontal first, and everything was just created with a polyline, and then I'm going to just close that, hit revolve, and there you can see the basic shape of what we're trying to get. So we have a hole in the middle, and we have that recess. And now I'm going to go back into that sketch, and I'm just going to start to dimension it with the things that we know. I'm going to put my radius in there. I'll just do that with a diameter for now. And again, just a placeholder. I'm just going to put that in place so that I have something there that I can modify. And I'm going to start to dimension it and start to make it make sense compared to the sketch. So here's the sketch. We've got that 150 millimeter diameter. Then we have that 13 millimeter, I think that recess is. And I think that section is the same as the section above. It's not shown in a sectional view, but I'm going to guess that's a 3 millimeter wall thickness. We have our 200 millimeter radius in the bottom. And we've got an ID of 120, an outside diameter of 126, 38 millimeter hole. So let's go ahead and start dimensioning things to make it make sense. I think the first thing I'm going to do is dimension the outside diameter. So I know this is the radius, of course, so it's half of that diameter. So it should be 63. And then I'm going to dimension the inside diameter. Again, it's half of that diameter, so it should be 60. And that'll give us a 3 millimeter wall thickness. Then I'm going to just remove that line there because we don't need that anymore. We're going to use this radius. And I'm going to go over here and dimension the height because I know that has to be 150. And you can see my bottom line was not horizontal, so I think I'm going to have to modify that and make it horizontal. Just dimension that recess first. That's 13 millimeters. And now we're just going to take that line and make it horizontal. There we go. And then I think I'm going to move everything up because I'm going to make that bottom line coincident with the axis, I think. Looks like it'll be a good move. So I'm going to just shift those two lines and make those vertically in line. And I'm going to shift up this part here. Let's just make that go up there a little bit. I'll make that a vertical line because we need to keep that vertical. Going to shift that bottom part up there, and I'm going to make that coincident with the axis. So I'm just going to make it coincident on there. That's perfect. And then I'm going to move my radius up because we're about to make that a lot bigger. And that's going to be a 400 millimeter diameter because the radius was 200 millimeters. We'll say OK to that. You can see it's way, way up in the air. So I'm going to grab the center of it and just move it up roughly into the position. And I think what I want is for that bottom part to be 3 millimeters. So I think I'm going to dimension that just to get an idea of where 3 millimeters is. I probably can get rid of that dimension going forward, but I'll just put it in there for now as a placeholder. Then I want to dimension where my center of my radius is. That's going to be 203 millimeters. So it'll leave me with a 3 millimeter thickness down there. That's the wall thickness. Then it's going to radius up from that. So now I'm going to get rid of this dimension because I actually don't need it. I'm going to make that coincident onto that radius. And notice it looks like a flat there, but that's because the radius is so big and my arcs are set that way. Not smoothed out, but it all works pretty well. I'm going to do the same thing there at that end. And then I need to remove some of this radius or this diameter, just to leave the piece in that I want. And then my final part, just to get it locked down, I need to dimension the hole. So I need that hole at the bottom. I need to put in that 19 millimeter dimension there. So we're gonna take care of that. Just checking to make sure everything's connected properly. And then we're just going to take care of this. So that dimension there is going to be 19 because it's 38 millimeter diameter. So there you have it. Now it's fully constrained. If I close that, you're actually looking at the size of the cylinder that we want it. Everything looks good. Now we've got to put some slots in there to make it make sense. So we've got 13 millimeter up in the back there. Everything looks good to the sketch. So now what we're going to need to do is to create another sketch. And we're going to do that on the XY plane as well. We're going to use our sectional view here so that we can see the view section. And then we're just going to pop in a rectangle because that's what the slot looks like. And a couple of things we're going to do here. We're going to dimension that, make it 3 millimeters. Probably should have made that symmetrical to the vertical axis before I did that, but it doesn't really matter. As long as I select those 2 points in that line and I make this symmetrical around there. Now it's sitting right in the middle. That's perfect. And then I want it to be coincident with the edge of that, where that radius comes out. So the easiest way to do that is to include that geometry using that little tool. I'll just include that line geometry. And then what I'm going to do is select that point there and make it coincident with that line. There you go. So now that comes down to there. And I should be able to close that and make that a slot. Oh, first I want to dimension this part. Make sure it's always bigger than the side there. So I'm going to dimension 150 for now. If it's always the whole length, that'll be 13 millimeters taller than the side. So now if I do a pocket and I do it through all, you can see my pocket is in the side there. So then all we need to do is a polar pattern of those pockets, and we should be in great shape. What we'll do is we'll select the polar pattern, and we're going to select the pocket, say OK, and then tell it there's 26 of them. And it's got the 26 from the sketch. So I know there's 26 that I need to put in with that 3mm space. So I'm going to just up that to 26. And you can see my axis is in the wrong place, so we're going to have to fix that. And to fix it, I just make this axis the base Z-axis. Then you should see all those slots come up in the right place. There we have it. And that is our shape. So it's basically 3 functions: a revolution, a pocket, and a polar pattern. Then what we're going to do, everything is as the sketch shows it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make this parametric using a spreadsheet, because I think that'll be fun. Then we can make it whatever size shape we want. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the spreadsheet workbench, and we're going to create a new spreadsheet. And then we're going to think about things that we need to put in here. So obviously we have the height. I'm going to take a quick look at my sketch here so I can get those things off there. Yeah, we have the height, and we have the radius. We have the inside diameter, the outside diameter. All those things we need to add. So I'll add a height. I'll call that 150. Inside diameter. And I'm just going to actually put the diameters in because we can always use a bit of math and divide it by 2. Then we know we've got the exact dimensions that we wanted. We've got a hole that's 38mm. There we go, 38. And what else do we have? So we have 26 slots. So let's call it slots. I'll put 26 in. And we have our recess. Depth. Just 13. I think it's 13. That's what it looks like on that drawing. Oh, we have the radius. That's 200. And the recess depth of 13. Now we need to alias all of these, so we're going to work on that. So I'm going to show you the manual way to do it, but you can actually do it with a macro, but I'm going to show you the manual way. So if you just highlight that one and type in height, it will automatically alias to height. Type in that one, inside diameter, so on and so forth, all the way through. Or you can use a macro. So now we have all the aliases set up. We're just going to go back to our sketch. And one thing I'm going to do just before I do that is I'm going to save this so we don't lose our sketch or lose our model, I'll call it model 2. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to modify these dimensions. We can modify that one. We're going to make it spreadsheet. I'm going to call it height. So now that one is done. I'm going to move all this over here a little bit. You see that delay that I was talking about with the sketcher seems to be running a little slower than normal. So this one's going to be the inside diameter. So spreadsheet, inside diameter divided by 2. And then this one underneath here is going to be the same thing, but the outside diameter divided by 2. So we're not actually changing these dimensions right now. We're just setting up the aliases so that we can do that. And for this one, we're going to go with the whole diameter divided by 2. Remember, in these revolves, we're looking at the radius, not the diameter. So that's why we're doing everything divided by 2. And then we have this recess height. So we're going to make that one. If I can get it to edit. There you go. Going to make that one spreadsheet recess height or recess depth. That's good. So that's everything there, and then we just want that radius. So let me just shift down here. So this is going to be our radius. And that's going to be times 2 because it's a diameter with dimensioning. That's good. And the only thing that we haven't locked in that way is this height here. And that should be now that's interesting because it's actually this minus this plus that radius. So we can do that as a calculation. We can do it spreadsheet radius minus, no, plus, and then it's going to be spreadsheet outside diameter minus spreadsheet inside diameter divided by 2. And then that height is calculated. So that whole sketch is now run by my spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that sketch. And now my spreadsheet, if I change my spreadsheet, it'll change that part. And then my polar pattern, I'm going to go here to my occurrences. And I'm going to make that spreadsheet. Call it slots. That's how many slots we have. It's all run by the spreadsheet. And I think that's all we have on here. So we have the slots, the radiuses. Yep, we're using all of those. The only thing that we haven't changed or haven't put on the spreadsheet is that gap dimension. So the dimension for this pocket, if we look at this sketch, we haven't set this height, which we can, because that's going to equal our spreadsheet height. That always keeps that the same. And then this piece is geometrically connected, so it's really only that dimension across there that we don't have anything on the spreadsheet for yet. So we'll call that gap. We'll call that 3 millimeters. So we go back here, select that spreadsheet, and then I can easy alias that one. Then come back here. I'm going to make this one spreadsheet gap. And now all of that is run by my spreadsheet. So if I go back here, close that sketch, go to my spreadsheet. Let's do a window and tile so we can see these two things either side. And now if I change the number of these on here, for instance, to 14, you can see it changes immediately. If I change that whole diameter, which is 38, if I change it to 44, see the hole gets bigger. We can change the height if we wanted to. Now the overall height is taller. So yeah, we have a spreadsheet driven piece. Now of course if you wanted radii on here or any of those bits, you can add all those later. I'm not going to bore you with showing you that stuff. So if you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I notice a lot of people are not subscribed to the channel and they come and watch the video. It costs you nothing. It's free to subscribe. It'll give you notifications if you press the bell. I'll notify you when I set out new recordings. We are getting close to 20,000 subscribers, and I'm hoping this video will get us to push over. So if you haven't subscribed already, do me a favor. Just hit the subscribe button. And as I said, it won't cost you anything, and it will help me to grow the channel a little bit. For those of you that want to contribute, you can use Patron, or you can sign up as a member here, or you can just buy me a coffee on coffee.com. So if you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them below. I do my best to answer all the questions and comments as they come in. And if you have any suggestions, things you'd like to see me model, please let me know. This one, as I said, was requested by a patron. And there it is, completed. Thanks.